Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, in the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, now the exalted Christ, in the name of the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would like to greet you in the greetings of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I'm out here on the porch at Muhammad Farms, rocking and ranting, and you can probably hear in the background the rain on a tin roof on the porch. And this is a little time for a break. We have Allah's irrigation in progress, and we just finished planting about 50 acres of watermelons. We now have cantaloupe and eggplant and bell pepper to plant. We also planted sweet corn, and we planted okra, and of course we already have 300 acres of wheat in progress. Inshallah, we'll be harvesting that in May. And while I'm thinking about it, don't forget about May 13th will be the next installment of the Staple Goods Project, where you can order your navy beans, your sugar, raw sugar, and your Muhammad Farms whole wheat flour, and Prima whole wheat, and a muffin mix, Stan's muffin mix, starting May 13th. Now, some people may ask, Dr. Ridgely, why don't you just stick to farming and not get into all this history stuff? Well, it was all this history stuff that got me into farming. My family, I'm from the projects, okay? Housing projects in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I ain't know nothing about no farming. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when I joined the Nation of Islam in 1971, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we needed farmers, we needed engineers. Agriculture is the root of civilization, he taught us. So therefore, I started farming. And lo and behold, didn't realize what I would find out by doing this study of agriculture is bigger than what I had thought. Going into the history of agriculture, and it takes us back to ancient Egypt and the history of our people, the tribe of Shabazz. And so now our tribe, our people, are enslaved in America. Now we're under voluntary slavery. We're doing this on our own now. We were brought over here, brutalized, stripped of our name, religion, way of life, our culture, and we've accepted the culture, the way of life, and the religion of our open enemy. And he has destroyed our black communities. How do we get that back? How do we fix it? Well, you have to understand the past to understand how you're going to work in the future. And let me just read this from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. A lot of y'all thought Malcolm taught this, but he's just quoting the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he teaches us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive and best qualified to reward our research, as it develops the springs and motives of human action and displays the consequences of circumstances which operates most powerfully on the destinies of human beings. The wise man is the one who has made a careful study of the past events of ancient and modern history. The knowledge of the future is judged by the knowledge of the past. So today we're going to talk about the process of the destruction of the black community, and then we're going to talk about the ways by which we can fix ourselves based on the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan's programs. So let's get down to it. So the topic today is the deportation of the black community, the calculated destruction of the black community. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us. He said, now, we want to know today what happened to our women and our morals. Well, the messenger warned us. The Muhammad Speaks newspaper, May 12, 1972. He told us, he said, look, don't follow the Shilas, this white woman, to your disgrace, black woman, but she will lead you into disgrace. And now we're calling our women bitches and whores, whereas in the past she was the one who upheld the morality in our community. She would keep her legs closed, okay, until marriage. But following this slut, told her, once integration started and we had all those black guys over there in those high schools, ball players, the white girl would take all the ball players and told the black girls, well, if you want your man, you're going to have to learn how to put out. And by putting out, she means open her legs to allow him in without any commitment. So this just didn't happen overnight. There was a historical precedent to this. There was a plan to this by a people who are used to doing this to us because they had a destiny, and their destiny was about us. You know, it's hard for black people to accept how important we are. This is Ramses on his throne here in Luxor, Egypt, in front of an obelisk, representative of his power. It is hard for us to believe that these people care about us to the point that that's all they think about, all of them together, working to keep us in our place, because as long as we are in our place, away from our throne, they can rule. And as a matter of fact, when they conquer us, they take the throne with them. Here is an obelisk right in front of the Vatican. So when the Pope comes out, greets the people, he's looking at this obelisk, and this obelisk was stolen from Egypt. It scratched all the hieroglyphs off of it and stuck on top of it a cross to represent the crucifixion of us. Not Jesus as one person, but us as a whole people. Now, it took them 4,000 years to get to this point, okay? And then 2,000 years later, they get to this point, where now they have us captive in America. Here's the Capitol, and here's the Washington Monument, an obelisk that they built out of a bunch of stones, not a solid granite stone like this, or like this, but an artificial obelisk in front of a Capitol, look just like the Vatican, to demonstrate that now they got the power. The civilization, the power of the world now is in their hands because they have us. And they don't intend to let us go, even though it's time for our departure, but we don't even have enough sense to make that move. So, let's get into a little bit of this history. These savage raiders from the north have come down to our pastoral and agricultural civilizations, been plundering us for 3,500 years. They were stuck up in the caves for a long time, and they finally were able to get out around 1700 BC. Now we knew that Musa went there 2000 BC and raised them up out of their savagery, and it took them 300 years to come down and first tackle Mesopotamia, into Asia, Mesopotamia, and then into Africa, into Kemet, the Hyksos invasion. So these people whole life is built on controlling us. And then the Greek invasion in Africa, 332 BC with Alexander the Great. Then the Roman invasion into Africa and Asia with Caesar, 70 BC. And then the transatlantic slave trade, 1555 to 1865. And now the hidden war against black, 1865 until today. So there is a historical precedent to where we are today. And these people, the wise ones, know exactly what they're doing. Let me read something from my book, Commonomics 2. And this is something that I just ran across this in my research on economics, on the Jews and banking, because you know they are the masses. They invented the banking system as we know it, and the stock market as we know it. And in the process of studying them, you find out that these people had a serious plan and a serious mindset, and they crazy as hell. Now, they tell you they gave us, the Western world, the Bible, so we're under Judeo-Christian ethic, but they didn't follow the Bible, the Torah. They followed the Talmud. And in the Talmud, it says, the Tanaic authority of the house of Elijah said, for 6,000 years the world will exist. For 2,000 years it will be desolate. 2,000 years will be the time of the Torah, and 2,000 years will be the days of the Messiah. But on account of our numerous sins, what has been lost of those years in which the Messiah should have come, but has not come, has been lost. Now, let me decipher this for you. Number one, it states that the world will exist for 6,000 years. This is our teaching, that the white man had 6,000 years to rule, but 2,000 of it, it was desolate, because he came in amongst us after he was made and came from them islands. We spotted who he was, and we ran him out, put him behind some mountains and some gates and some soldiers. Well, he was back there 2,000 years, and he went savage. He lost the knowledge of himself, began to live with the dogs that he made from the wolves, and eat like the wolves, eat like the dogs, and naked, hairy, like a beast. And Musa, Moses, didn't take them out of Egypt. He found them in the caves, and he brought them out with a teaching. Now, their Jews say Jesus was not the Messiah. Here what it says, what? Of those years in which the Messiah should have come but has not come. The last 2,000 years is supposed to be the years of the Messiah, but the Jews did not accept Jesus as their Messiah. But they say that the 2,000 years still counts, even though he wasn't the right one. Oh man, these people something, man, what they do with their minds and try to get you into understanding or believing their mess. But needless to say, the 6,000 years is over. They know it, and they have been working, planning for all this time how they're going to beat us, beat God in these last 6,000 years, at the end of the 6,000 years. So let's go back to some information. Okay, so they were never enslaved by us in Egypt, and the own book that they gave us, called the Bible, is sitting right up in there. But your preacher ain't gonna, he don't see this. If he did, he don't understand it. He ain't gonna teach it. But let me explain it to you. Genesis 47, chapter 20 to 23, and Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field because of the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. Wait a minute. Pharaoh is supposed to be the king of Egypt. If he's the king of Egypt, he would own all the land anyway. So why would he need to have somebody from the outside, Joseph, come in and buy the land for him? And it said, and as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end thereof. Took them off their land, put them in the cities. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? What they did with us, we're going to show you in a minute. Took us off our land that we had bought in the south and stuck us in the cities, and we're stuck there now. On the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them by Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. The priests had a portion assigned. In other words, these were sellouts. The priesthood was sellouts. This is what we have today in the black community. We have the priesthood, the preachers who are sellouts to massa and keep us in check while they get more biscuit and chicken than everybody else, and could ride around in luxury cars and have our women. But they are the same type of priests that sold out to the invader, Joseph and his brothers. Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. So he said, I have bought you. That meant that Joseph bought the land and the people for Pharaoh. And so Pharaoh was an outsider, Joseph was an outsider. They came in amongst us and conquered us, and we finally kicked them out. Two brothers, Ahmoses and Kamoses, kicked them out. But these people now claim that they are the ones that was enslaved by the Egyptians, but it's stated clearly in the Bible that we read that Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. So these are outsiders, usurpers, coming in and attacking us, and we had to kick them out, and then they keep coming back until they finally got us and brought us into America. Now, here in 568 BC, Nebuchadnezzar came out of Babylon, came into Egypt near the pyramids, which the Bible never shows you, talks about a pyramid, as though they didn't see it, brought us into Babylon, made us build those hanging towers, made us build the Tower of Babel for them. But then they killed the men, they raped the women, made half-breeds, and then sent them half-breeds into Jerusalem and them half-breeds down in the Elephantine, covering both borders of Egypt. Okay? These are spies, these so-called Jews. These are half-breeds, Semites. Semites, semi meaning half. You see, in the ancient world, they would never come and take you out, say, of Jerusalem, bring you into Babylon, then bring you back, your children, 70 years later, allow them to come back to Jerusalem. No. They would take you and send you someplace else. They would take you and send you someplace else. In other words, they wouldn't send you back to where you were taken from. They would send you someplace else, so that when you went there, the same way we do now in our black communities, we're spread out all over the country now in America. We're uprooted from our own cities and towns. So now you got a corporate job. But you go into an area that nobody knows you and you don't know them. All you have is money, so nobody trusts you. And by the time you figure out how you can make it there in terms of politics, you got to follow the money trail, because now your job is moving you someplace else. So they keep moving you around. They're in deportation. But this deportation never happened with them. Matter of fact, Jesus had an argument with them, and they told him, the Jews said, we never been enslaved to any man. Well, that includes Egypt, and that includes Babylon. So who was enslaved? Well, the Egyptians were enslaved by these Hyksos. We kicked them out. Then they came and took us and enslaved us in Babylon, took our women, made half-breeds, taught them and gave them a new book called the Bible that they stole off of our walls. That's a whole other lecture. And then made up a new book, and then began to take that book and control the world. And we are now under the Judeo-Christian ethic, and we as black folks have lost our mind. Now, they play the same game over and over. There's a little island called Sao Tome that the Jews found in 1470 off the coast of Africa, off the coast of the Congo. Okay? They came and stole our women, like they did back when Babylon came into Egypt, stole our women, made half-breeds, trained them half-breeds to be Portuguese, sent them back into Africa, and that's how the African slave trade started, with these half-breeds going in, back in home, but acting as agents for the Portuguese, bringing them liquor and guns, starting to fight and kill one another, and then exporting them out to the islands, and then they were shipped into the islands in the Caribbean, starting in 1555, and in 1619, after they had trained generations, they would bring them into America. See, they wouldn't take you straight from Africa into America. No, they bring you to the islands first to take the children, have you to reproduce children, and then they would train those children to be a slave and then bring them into America. They didn't want to bring you straight from Africa and you still think you free like Kunta Kinte No, they wouldn't bring you straight to America. They bring you to the islands first. If they couldn't break you, they just make children from you, and they take those children and bring you into America. Now, after 1865, when supposedly we were freed, in 45 years, 1910, this is the percentage of farms owned by blacks. Mississippi. In Mississippi, 60% of the land was owned by blacks. In Louisiana, in Alabama, in Georgia, 40 to 50% was owned by blacks. And in South Carolina, 50 to 60% of the farmland, the farms, were owned by blacks. So we were basically a nation within a nation. And the people went to work studying us. And they said, you know, them black folks is buying too much land. We got to stop them from that. We need to make them consumers. So they would be consumers instead of saving their money to buy land. This is what the universities in the late 1800s did the research and decided to make us into a nation of consumers. And that's what we are today. And they also lynched us. This lynchings were not over no white woman. These lynchings